Hi, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Seforim Chatter podcast. On this episode of the podcast, I'm going to be joined by Rabbi Yehoshua Lifschitz, who is the Mechaber of Seforim of, I think, 27 at this point, of Sifrei Meir Panim, which is a number of Seforim. He wrote and Mahadir of these Seforim, edited various Seforim of the Leshem, Sifrei Ramchal, and many others that we'll discuss. And we'll be discussing the Seforim and his method and how he edits and why he got into this. So thank you, Rabbi Yehoshua, for joining me.
Thank you for having me. Hopefully it'll be a Kiddush Hashem.
So let's start off. Tell the listeners a little bit about yourself and your background.
Okay, so I am not yet 50. I'm getting close. I was born in San Antonio, Texas. Back then there wasn't too much terror back in Texas. San Antonio, definitely. I'm a Baal Tshuva. I went my last 2 years of high school. I went to MTA, which is YU's high school. From there I went to Torah Or, Tifrach, then Mir. And then I've been after the Mir, I went to a couple of koilim, by Rabbi Yehoshua by Rabbi Shapiro. And then I went back. I'm been in the Mir now for a couple of decades. And about 15 years ago or 12 years ago, I started learning with a Chavrusa, a Sefer, and we were having trouble, and I worked on it a little bit, and then I went to a shir that helped it out, and then the Sefer, I really ended up helping it out a lot. And so I sort of played around with the idea of printing it, and then I found a Ksav Yad, and so I did more things, and the Sefer came out now, and it was accepted incredibly well. So I did another, and now it's gotten a bit out of hand. But Baruch Hashem, it's a schus to have anything to do for Klal Yisrael, and it's a Baruch Hashem. Kadosh Baruch Hu gave you matana.
Yeah, anyone who's seen your Seforim now, there are many of them in any Seforim to really go into. They're like distinctive. They all have this black cover. I think this gold, then the name is usually like in this red, right? It's like a red orangey box. So all the Seforim have the same cover, so it's distinctive that you can see them. What was the first sefer? What was that first sefer that you worked on?
That first sefer was the Piskei Sharm of Rabbi Isaac Hover, and that if you just Rabbi Isaac Hover was one of the Gedolei Ador from the door of the Tzai Sachoshen. And he wrote a pirush on the Eitz Chaim of the Rizal from start to finish. And as far as I know, he's the only pirush we have on the Eitz Chaim of a Litvish Gadol Benigla. Most of the Mechaber Seforim Kabbalah are their Mekubalim. They might have been Gedolim and Nigla, but they weren't known as Poiskim and Gedolei Torah and Nigla. They were mostly known as Mekubalim. And so when I was learning it with my Chavrusa, so we kept getting stuck in a certain place, and I started hearing a shir by a big Mekubal in Yerushalayim, and on the Gra and the Safra Tziyuso, and so the shir on the Safra was exactly the same sugya we were doing in the Piskei Sharim, and they really helped each other out a lot because the Rabbi Isaac Hover is a Talmud of the Talmud of the Gra, and so the Gra was a source for the Rabbi Isaac's Torah, and he was also Rabbi Isaac was explaining the Gra, and so it was actually incredibly useful. And it was very good. Baruch Hashem, the Sefer came out very, very well used and very appreciated. And Baruch Hashem, amazing.
So it sounds like you said it's 27 Seforim now. So this that you started editing and publishing the Seforim, it just came about like happenstance to the first Sefer, and then you started doing it, or was there something more that you got into? Literally now you're just countless Seforim are coming out from you every year. You're publishing and editing these Seforim.
No, it was everything was just. I was a regular break, I just happened to have all these things work out at the same time. It was a bit of a nace that I found a Ksav Yad, and I got a shir, and then I got a Chavrusa, and then I got some money from a donor. So everything was Yad Hashem. It was pretty clear, but it was amazing.
Okay, so the Seforim, what exactly does your work entail? I'll mention. First of all, there's a website, sifreimeirpanim.com, and I'll put a link in the show's notes, and we'll talk more about later on. Link of Seforim. Some of the Seforim are available viewing online. There's links to purchase the Seforim. But I mentioned a couple. I mentioned you have a Nefesh HaChaim, you have a Derech Hashem for the Ramchal, you have an Evan Shloimo, you have a Das Tfunus, and Mesilas Yesharim, and then there are some other, Edis Nemana, and you have Bereshis and Shemais. Those are Seforim that you worked on Bereshis Shemais. Those are not older Seforim that are edited. And then there's
wait. Well, the Edis Nemana is really, we're taking every Rashi on Chumash, and we're showing the Chazal Rashi's coming from, and so you'll see that Rashi is really on Chumash is the same Rashi on Gemara, that he's just helping you out a drop. he's tweaking as if to say Chazal a little bit, and it's all of a sudden it makes a lot more sense than Rashi. Not that it wasn't clear beforehand, but it clarifies exactly what Rashi's saying, where he's coming from, and then it comes out Bez Hashem a lot clearer. So it is actually all the Seforim are the same kav, and is that what we're doing is we're doing something that everybody wants. Anyone who reads a Rashi on a Chumash and there's a Gemara he's coming from, you want to see the Gemara, so therefore you can see the Gemara and the Rashi, and then it should help you understand the Rashi better. Say someone's going to read a Rashi on Chumash, it's coming from Gemara and Megillah. I don't want to see the Rashi. I don't want to see the Gemara inside. That sounds just doesn't make any sense at all, right? To say you don't want to see my pshat in the Rashi, well, most people in the world don't want to see my pshat in the Rashi, so that I don't print. I only print what hopefully every single person wants to see. That's my kav of every one of my Seforim, and it should be there. If you see it, every sefer should seem the same thing. You should see the same author.
So, okay, right. So I just mentioned that was a little different, but you're saying it's very, really similar, really. So when you have a Nefesh Chaim, or your Das Tfunas, or your Pischei Sha'arim, or your Leshem, so you're saying they're all the footnotes and all the additions are the same style.
Yeah, I mean, again, like when you learn Nefesh Chaim, right? So what do you need in Nefesh Chaim? You don't, what if he says Ein Zohar in 10 different places, right? So Pashtus, you want to know why he brought all 10 and what all 10 say, and he does that, all the time. And if he hints to things in the Gra, and you don't know the Gra Baal Peh, well, then you probably want to know the Gra says, and that's what I do, and that's what I do in every single sefer. I bring you what every single person would want to see.
So perhaps you have a specific example, even though they're all the same. And like you said, anyone can pick up your Seforim and see, and on your website, again, the Seforim are available to view, but maybe gives us one specific example for the listeners to get an idea of what you mean with your footnotes and your work.
Okay, so if you think like on Chumash Rashi, let's go to Parshas Ekev. This week is Parshas Ekev. And if you want to look on the beginning of Parshas Ekev, so the Rashi says, "Vayai Ekev tishmun, ima mitzvos akal shalom dashba kevu tishmun." Then b'shamar Hashem l'sa bracha v'sachesed asher nishbala v'zecho. So where is Rashi coming from? It's if you look in the Tanchuma there, I bring in the footnote. Vayai Ekev zeh shamar kosav lama ira b'meiro avon akevai yisubein. The Medrash Tanchuma is bringing the pasuk in Tilim that the David Melech says, "Yisbarach Shmo Shal Hakadosh Baruch Hu Shenosa Torah Yisrael Sheishem Targim Mitzvos Yeshem Kalos V'Chamuros Uvnei Sheishem Mitzvos Kalos She'ein Bnei Adam Mashgichim Behen El Shemashlichim Osam Tachas Akveyan Kol She'ein Kalos Lefichach Haya David Yisyar B'Yom Adin." So that David Melech himself was Yisyar B'Yom Adin, and he said, "Ribono Shalom Eini Yisyar Min Mitzvos Chamuros Sheb'Torah She'ein Chamuros Imani Yisyar Min Mitzvos Kalos Shema Avarti Al Achas Mehem." Right, and then the Medrash adds, now, so that's what the Rashi is saying, that if you do the kalos and the chamuros, but it's coming from David Melech's, he was misyar from that on Yom Adin, and so that's why that will hopefully give you a clear understanding of the Rashi itself. Now, also besides that, the Rashi we have is it's one girsa. I found an old Savyad Pashtus of the Talmud of Rashi. The Talmud of Rashi Pashtus is Magiyah, and so it's very close to the Zman of Rashi. And again, I'm not going to be machriya in a girsa, but if there is the oldest Savyad we have, and there is what we have printed, it's kedai to see both of them. So both are in front of you, and you can choose which one you like more, or which one you want to learn more.
So this is from your Eidos Ne'emana, which so far Eidos Ne'emana published is only Bereishis Shemais, and the rest are and the other parts are available on the website.
Every single sefer I've ever done is available on the website for free, not typeset, but you could download it for free. Every single thing I've ever done. By the way, if you ever don't find something or would like to email me and ask for something, don't be shy. I give all my stuff out for free. I want people to learn Torah. That's my goal. So feel free to ask for anything.
Okay, but I think your email's on the website. If not, I could put it in the show's notes also, the email people can reach out.
It's on the website, yes.
Okay, perfect. So when you take a sefer, let's say, whether it's Eidos Ne'emana on Rashi, or it's I don't know, pick anything. Das tun. So are you trying your process when you're doing the work, how you're attacking this, so to speak, is to find the Makairis where whichever Machaber is you're working on? Is that how do you go about it as you're doing this work?
Well, no, it's more if I would think of someone, what would every single person in the world, what would they want in Chumash Rashi? What they'd want the Makor of Rashi, and they'd want to know if it's the perfect girsa. What would everybody want in Unklus to do Shnai Mikra? Well, if there's two different girsas of Unklus, you'd probably want to see just to make sure. And if there are words that are not the same thing as the Chumash, you'd want to have the translation. So in Edus Nemona, we put the translation of the words, the Unklus, at the bottom, so you could see. For a lot of people, just having the footnote sign would be enough for them to realize they have to think about that word. That's what Unklus is translating different than the Chumash. And in Rashi, you want to see the Chazal Rashi's coming from. Now, if you take a different sefer, like I don't know, the Choshen Mishpat, one of the problems in learning Choshen Mishpat is that the Ksais and the Sifas are very long and very difficult. Of course, if anyone wants to learn a Be'iyun, yeah, that's what they have to do. But if someone was looking for a halacha lamaisa, what do you do with this case where they rented something or they lost something, and I bring everything as metumtzat, as concise as possible, and hopefully it should be readable to like a Mishnah Berurah. Again, the Mishnah Berurah realized he was a gadol Torah, and so he was machriya between the shitas, and he paskin. I'm not a basic, I'm not a gadol Torah, but I can read Exois, and I can bring down the Shach. If the Shach brings down Chuvas Ranach, I can bring down the Ranach with Tamtis, and it's a very short, concise sefer, and it's very enjoyable and usable. So the idea is what everybody wants. If somebody wants something specific, it's probably not it. But if every single person that's opening this sefer wants this, well, that's what I do.
So that Shulchan Aruch Chesh Mishpat we'll get back to. So you're saying it's whatever wants. So the sources that you use for these farm are basically, if it's Rashi, it's Chazal based. It depends on which sefer it is and what you're trying to do on that sefer. Like what you just said is which Makairis, which main sources you're using on the sefer, right?
Yeah, but again, it's not always sources. It could be absolutely anything. It depends on what the sefer is. And so it's not. I don't know if that's a perfect answer to say that it's always sources. It's not always sources. It all depends on what's needed and what people could use and what people would like and what everyone pastures. My goal is that everyone would use. That's the idea.
So how do you pick what Seforim to work on? Is that also based on what you think people want? Because your Seforim, you have a lot of Seforim on Machshava and Kabbalah and Musar, but then like you mentioned, you have Halacha, you have Seforim on Chumash. How do you pick? There's a wide range of Seforim that you're working on and publishing, and sometimes you publish something on Chumash, and the next day something on Kabbalah is printed, and then the next day is Musar. Like how do you print how do you decide what to work on and what to publish?
Well, again, to work on, that's one whole parsha. To publish, that all depends on what kind of money comes in, right? So if someone comes to me and says they want to publish a sefer on this, so someone recently said they want to do a sefer on all of Nach. They wanted to bring down every Chazal on Nach, so you could just see all the Chazal on Nach. So I was working on that for a while, and that came out very nice. Bez Hashem, hopefully the volume's going to be printed in the very near future. But that's that's the printed side. The work side, it all depends on what I feel like at the time. Like just recently, like a month ago, I finished a sefer, and that's what I was working on second seder for many hours a day. And so it was the end of Zman. I didn't really want to do nothing, and I didn't want to do the sefer again. It was finished, and so I started playing around with an idea and doing a sort of Schattenstein Metifta type of thing on Gemara. So I was working on that, and now Baruch Hashem, I've done 15 daf or 14, 13 daf or 14. I don't know how many daf I've done. 13 daf, and it came out very nice. I'm very happy with it. But again, it's each thing is there's no exact reason why I do something. It's usually according to the donors or according to whatever I think is absolutely necessary, or really what I want to work on myself. A lot of it's my own steiging.
Now the fact that you have a lot of there is a fair amount of Kabbalah, Machshava, that type of thing that you put out. Is there a specific reason for that?
Well, no, it's because that's what I started. I started working on Kabbalah because that's the sefer I had in front of me that needed help, and I couldn't read it without it. And I have to have the shir together, and so I did the Piskei, and then I did the Safra, and then I did the Idrus, and then I started. Then Chavrusa said he wanted to learn this, and so we started learning it. I couldn't do it because I couldn't read the words, and so I started working the Nusfos. And so when I did the Nusach for one parak, well, if I could do the one parak, I'd do 1,000 broken. And so I did that. I came out with 8,000 Shin Nuschos in one sefer, but they're very useful. they're very appreciated. Someone just, Friday night came over to me and said, "I have to thank you for that one sefer on just the new schools of Eitz Chaim. It's absolutely wonderful." It's a wonderful feeling. You should know, putting out a sefer and then 10 years later, someone coming and thanking you for it. It's Baruch Hashem. People are used to this Seforim. It's a big schos.
Yeah, and Kabbalah, we mentioned the summer. You also did. You have a Shari Eira. You have a Gra and Sefer Yitzira. I think you have a Leshem 6 of 8, where you're almost done. You're not finished the Leshem yet, right? There's something else interesting you put out. If you want to mention Darkei Emes, you put out a likut on the Ramban and Rabbeinu Bachya. If you want to talk about that, that's an interesting sefer. I think it's on the whole Chumash in one volume, right?
Yeah, well, not the whole Ramban, only the Ramban al Pi Derech Emes, al Pi Derech Nister, and that was very interesting. That I don't know how it started off. I guess I don't know how it started off, but I would go through the Ramban and I would search for what I could to explain what the sugi the Ramban was talking about, where it's coming from, and I found time after time after time it was word for word the Zohar. Now, a lot of academics will tell you that the Ramban did not have the Zohar, but I've got 700 proofs that he did have the Zohar, and so answer that yourself. It just as an anecdotal, interesting thing that sefer came out on a Thursday. That Monday, 5 days afterwards, I got an email from a guy who's going to a graduate school program in Bar Ilan on Kabbalah of the Rishonim, and he said the professor mentioned my sefer in a lecture 5 days after we went to the stores. Which Baruch Hashem was a
very big, yeah, very interesting. So now you mentioned the Zohar, that's something else we should discuss. So the Zohar, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, only one volume was published so far, but you are working on a Zohar. So Zohar, what is your work on the Zohar like, and why did you decide you're going to publish another edition of Zohar? There are a number of editions of Zohar, new editions of Zohar. So why publish a Zohar, and what did you do? What is your work on the Zohar?
Well, the interesting thing about the Zohar is that the Zohar was printed 80 times, and so there's 80 tfusim with the Zohar. And if you go to Bar Ilan, they have 6 feet of savyads of the Zohar, and I don't know why I started it, but I did, and I was intrigued by the fact how the nusach, the Zohar was written by Rav Shimon Bar Yochai, but then it was nignaz and it was misgale around the times of the Rashbul, and then not so long after that, the Arizal came around and he made Hagos and he changed the nusach, and so now we have the nusach of the Zohar before the Arizal. We have the nusach of the Zohar after the Arizal. We have the nusach of the Zohar after, between the two. A bunch of Christians in Meshumodim printed a Zohar to get people to become Christians. So if you ever see a nusach of Zohar that's got a very funny daf number, which is the Magen Avram Zohar, the Shloh Zohar, so that was printed by Christians to get people to become Christians. And so that nusach is not the best, you can guess. But so the first nusach of the Zohar is Montovo. After that, the Arizal came and made corrections, and that's called a sefer called Derech Emes. And now in Amsterdam, where they printed the Zohar, they put the Derech Emes in the Gilyon, like on the side, and then in Zitomir, which is the Makor of the Zohar of Vilna, which we have. So they left the name Derech Emes, but they put the Derech Emes in the text, and they put something else on the side. So there's a pirush called Derech Emes, which is not Derech Emes, it's just it was there, and they left the title there, which is incorrect. But those calls are very important because you'll see vast differences between before the Ari, after the Ari, and then in Constantinople, in Kushta, they did a Zohar with Chaim Vital's Hagos, and those are all incredibly important. And because it's a Mishnah, and for anyone to decide, we're going to decide what nusach you're going to say. Well, it's a bit of a joke to say anyone can decide a nusach and a Mishnah, and if there's a Ramban or Sharia Eira or a Rashba quoting a Zohar, and they did not have the goals of the Arizal, and so they're going to have one nusach, but the Arizal is going to have another nusach, and the Ramak's going to have the nusach before the Arizal, and it's very important because they're based on the words, and if the words are saying X, I mean, if you want, should we bring one up and we'll look at it together?
Yeah, sure, you can do that.
Okay, so on the website, let's go to the website and we'll look at Zohar. Okay, so let's look at Zohar. On the website it says Zohar Ma'umad, so it's the first page of the Zohar. So the Zohar starts with Chizkiah Pasach, Reb Chizkiah, when he started learning, he said, Shoshana bein achoichim, and he asked the question, my Shoshana, what's the Shoshana? Da Knesset Yisrael, this is Knesset Yisrael. And then in the parentheses it says, begin the East Shoshana, right? So now in the Rishonim's Zohar, it said these words, begin the East Shoshana, and the Arizal erases them. So both sides you have to know. I mean, you can't say I'm only going to learn one Zohar because unless you're just going to skim through it, you don't want to learn it seriously. But you have to have both. Now, again, what would everybody want on the Zohar? There are 8 basic mafarshim on the Zohar that very few people know of any of them. But so hopefully what I did was I brought down in the footnotes, you'll see the mafarshi of the Zohar, right? And the most important ones, the Rizal, the Reb Chaim Vital, the Ramak, the Gra, the Mikdash Melech, and the Ramaz, who are Talmidim of the Reb Chaim Vital, or Talmidim. And then we have others. But the main thing is to have the mafarshim on the daf changes the whole world because it makes it readable. You know, it's like trying to understand Baba Kama without Rashi, without anything. It's just about impossible. And so Baruch Hashem, that's what we did. And we have mafarshim in the whole Zohar on the website. You can download the whole thing for free. And Baruch Hashem, I'm proud of the fact that I went into. There are a bunch of other people who are doing Zohars now. You know, Machon Maor, and what's the other one? Oiz V'Hodor, and a bunch of others. And I went into one of them and I said, listen, guys, this is my Zohar. All of the mafarshim, take whatever you want, enjoy it. I hope you guys are very successful in your Zohar because I don't think we're competing too much with each other. And so enjoy it. And I've gotten back feedback from them saying that it's really helpful. They're really enjoying it. It's helping them understand it. I'm very proud of the fact. Baruch Hashem.
Amazing. And it's amazing that you just let them use it. And then, like I said, it's available for anybody for free. So I think published volumes, though, what's published so far? Just Bereshis Aleph?
Yeah, the first half of Sefer Bereshis. Hopefully it's going to be a 6-volume set. We're very close to finishing the whole thing. But Bez Hashem, we've got some more work to do. But Bez Hashem, we're not so far away. I mean, the Mefarshim are all done. The Nusach is done until the end of Shmois. We have to, one of the workers has Chelik Gimel, which is from Vayikra until the end of Dvarim, to do. We did one thing in the Nusach, we have to do another thing in the Nusach, and then I have to fix up the Targum, and I have to go through, I have to perfect the Mefarshim, which is very little work. Most of the work is done. We have very little left to do. Bez Hashem.
Now, okay, like you said, there will be a link. Anyone can check it out online. But just to visualize for the podcast, so you have the Zohar, the actual text of Zohar, like you read before, and then that's on the left-hand side over here. On the page on the right-hand side, you have Targum, where it says Targum, and there's the translation. And the bottom in the footnotes is where you have some other, I think, Gersayas, and also you have, when you say Mefarshim, you don't have it like some Sfarim, imagine a Shulchan Aruch with the text of Shulchan Aruch with the Mefarshim around the side. That's not how you're doing it here. When you mentioned the Mefarshim,
No, these are the Mefarshim. These are word for word the Mefarshim. These are like the Pierce the Arizal on the Zohar, Pierce the Gro on the Zohar, Pierce the Ramak on the Zohar. And it should be, hopefully, what's useful. Very, very minor Pure Souls here in the footnotes. The most of the Pure Souls are in the text itself. But I'd also like to tell you that the Targum is a straight Targum. I didn't explain anything in the Targum. So if you want to understand the Zohar, you're going to have to work. It's not for free. But I'm also very proud of the fact that a friend of mine who's not a learning person, he's not a Ben Torah, he's a modern Orthodox Jew, but I showed him the Zohar because I wanted to hear what he said about it, and he said it was wonderful. I was reading the Targum, and I read a Medrash in Hebrew. I saw something in Kabbalah I didn't understand. I skipped the next paragraph. It was beautiful. I mean, Baruch Hashem, he's enjoying it. And I've got a chavrusa in one of my donors. We learn this every day. We run Daf Lamed Vav. We've done 36 Daf of Zohar. And it's Baruch Hashem. He's working hard. And he's steiging in it. But it's a sefer that's hopefully now from now on you can learn it. And it's not my pirush. It's the Gra, the Arizal, the Ramak, the Mikdash Melech, the Ramaz, whoever I could find, the Leshem if he explains it. It should be Bez Hashem, more or less. You'll have the whole sefer explained. You'll have holes, fine. Bez Hashem. I couldn't bring every Ramak. I couldn't bring every Gra, but I brought a lot of them. And it should be very, very, very useful.
That's all I meant about the Mefarshim. Not that you're not bringing the Mefarshim at the bottom, just that you bring them in the notes. It's not like you just printed their entire commentary in block as if it's printed in Shulchan Aruch. When you take the Shach. That's all I meant. It's all their commentaries there in the notes. Now, also something else with the Zohar, you also printed a little bit of a bigger size sefer. Right? The regular Sfarim are just a standard kind of Peninim size sefer, and these are the Zohar I think is a little bit of a bigger size, right?
Yes, it's called the Peninim size is called B5, It's a universal, what they call it, size, and the bigger side is A4. But it's I mean, I thought the reason why, if you look in the Zohar, it says on the top, it says Aleph and Aleph 1, and then it says Aleph and Aleph 2. Then it says Beis Aleph and Beis 1, Aleph and Beis 2, because I wanted to make sure it would keep the Surah Sadaf of the Zohar. Again, I doubled it, so it's not exactly the Surah Sadaf, but this way, whenever you open any Sefer at Beis Yosef, Kedushas Levi, or Nefesh HaChaim, Kitzur Arizon, it says Ayin Zohar Shmois Yudalim and Beis. You can find it in a second. You don't have to say, oh, it's a Raya Mahemda, therefore it could be it's afterwards, beforehand. It's a Sifrei Meir, it's different. No, it's everything exactly the way it is. So it should be very, very easy and useful. So that's why I did it bigger.
Okay, another interesting thing that you just recently did is you published an English sefer now. You took an English translation of Siach Yitzchak, which is the drashas of Rabbi Yitzchak Zechavro. You mentioned him earlier about the first sefer of Pesach Sharim. Why do a sefer in English now?
Well, the reason why I did it was because I thought that if you would think about a sefer of yeshivish Torah shkafos, right? If you wanted to, teach someone that, it's very hard to find a sefer. I mean, I couldn't really think of a sefer that was there because, what do we have? We have, maybe the Michtam Elio, maybe we have, something of somebody nowadays, but, this is from the Darlik Tzais, and he gave these drushas in shul, in public, in front of women and children. He didn't give it, to his talmidim. He gave it in public, and so it is there for everybody. And it is. I just printed it in Hebrew, and I thought, gee, that'd be a great idea to do that. And because it's very it's very good. And a lot of English Seforim are, since they're translated, they're watered down, and they're made to to read sitting back with a cup of coffee and just not seriously reading it. One of my goals in this book, hopefully, is to make a sefer that would actually, be part of the Beis Yaakov curriculum, where the girls would actually be learning a real sefer that would, make them think and give them something to really work on. And it was not, again, Rav Dessler, Baruch Hashem, or the Gedolei Ador of the last door. But if you could learn a Ktsois HaChoshen or someone's last door, of course, the Ktsois HaChoshen would be much more important. The Mesillas Yesharim, the Derech Hashem, of course, are wonderful svarim for Hashkafa and Musar, but they're not doing the same thing that Rav Isaac did. That's the idea.
Okay, so perhaps you can give an example from the Siach Yitzchak, especially translation in English for the listeners.
So, okay, the Siach Yitzchak, if you go to the website under English Svarim, it says Siach Yitzchak there, and if you let's look at page 24. It says supported the Torah study of children, right? And so again, this English is not going to be the best English because I want to be exactly what he said in Hebrew. There it says, therefore, let us strengthen the hands that have grown lax their support of Torah study. Most importantly, let's take care of the children of the poor, from whom the Torah is destined to spread through Klal Yisrael. The entire world depends on the Torah study of children. I found it necessary to explain all this in order to challenge the foolish notion that we need not invest money to teach the Talmud to poor children to such great proficiency, so they should delve into its depths. Suffice it is to teach them Aleph Beis. They can pray for a sitter and learn a Chumash. Leave the Talmud for big rabbis who are responsible for making halachic rulings for the generation. No one else needs it, they say. So again, these are obvious things, hopefully, Be'ez Hashem, to anyone who's learning Torah. But I think it'd be good for the whole world to have something in English where the Gadol Ador, one of the Gedolei Ador from the Dor Tzais, what he was teaching in shul, because this is what everyone has to know, and we have to know. We have to spend a lot of time on making sure every single Yosem, every single Ani, the kid can go through yeshiva and become a Talmud Chacham. Again, the Amkus, you have to read through more of it, but all can be seen from the account. As I explained before, the entire world stands on the pillar of Torah Shemal Peh, as is passed down from the Mishnah, the Talmud, codified in the Halacha, studied day and night. All can be seen from the account of how the Torah was given to Bnei Yisrael on Har Sinai. In fact, the Torah was given on two levels. The first was a spectacular public display. Hashem descended on Har Sinai amidst thunder and lightning with an open revelation of the Shekhinah. The second was a quiet, intimate meeting in which Moshe alone ascended for 40 days and then returned to teach what he had learned at Bnei Yisrael. Why was Kabbalah Torah divided into these two stages so radically different from one another? So now this is, he's going through a whole drasha and teaching you Amkus in Agadato, and this is right. This is directly pertinent to every single generation, definitely our generation, And Baruch Hashem, we have it hopefully, and it should be readable, even people who cannot read the Hebrew. Again, anyone who could read the Hebrew, of course, please read the Hebrew and become a Talmud Chacham, bigger Talmud Chacham than me. But I'm saying is that this is, I think it's good. I think it's necessary. I think it's useful. I think it's much better to read, someone from, 5 generations ago than someone from 1 generation ago. It's not a big chiddush.
So with the English specifically, as you mentioned it before, but who you really gearing this English Sefer towards this one, and now are you doing others? Or are you planning others?
Well, again, the English is for anyone who can't read the Hebrew, and so whoever can't read Hebrew, that's Bali Tshuva or people that were not too successful in yeshiva, or it would be easier for them to read in English. Especially women, especially children, especially all kinds of a lot of people don't read Hebrew perfectly, and it's definitely not easier for them to read Hebrew.
Are you planning on doing other English Seforim also?
Yeah. And if you go back to where it says English Seforim, there's the Meir Tefillah. I want to do in English also, and we did one shir, but it's expensive, and I don't really have the fundings for it. But anything that I think again, just as a disclaimer, Rabbi Isaac Hover was a big makubal, and he did say over Kabbalah in his drushos. Those parts I did not translate. I did not want any Kabbalah in English, and those who want to learn Kabbalah have to work and read in Hebrew. But I didn't want to translate that. I did not translate in English, and the Meir Tefillah, the same thing. I want to make sure it's only going to be for those people. I'm going to translate it, but hopefully it'll be for those people. I'm only going to translate the parts which should be translated.
So another interesting statement, one that you mentioned earlier, was that Shulchan Aruch Choshim Mishpat that you're doing. Is that available on the website yet? And when is it?
Yes.
But it hasn't been printed yet. No.
We're very, very close. But it's I hope you realize going through 1/6 of Choshim Mishpat with every single Tzais L'Siyus Rabbi Kveger Piskei Tshuva Shach Taz Sma, and every single Tshuva the Shach Piskei Tshuva Rabbi Kveger bring down is a bit of a work, and then making it hopefully as close to perfect as possible. And you realize every single person that ever learned Baba Tzia, Baba Kama, you will have the opportunity to find a mistake in me. And Bez Hashem, B'nai Klal Yisrael are very good at, looking for mistakes and being critical. And so I'm working really hard. Baruch Hashem, I think it came out very close, but we're not so far from printing. Bez Hashem.
Okay, so in general, who would you say is the target audience of all these Seforim?
It's again like the Choshim Mishpat. So who would want to read a Mishnah Berurah Choshim Mishpat? Any bacher learning. The first thing you do in 5th grade in America is in 5th grade. I don't know when do you start to learn America. In Israel, what 5th grade?
Yeah.
So they start Eilam Metzias, right? And so wouldn't that be wonderful to see the halachos of Eilam Metzias? And if they can't get all the Sifrei Cuttings and they can't get the Biur halachos, so fine, they get the basic things. I think it'd be wonderful. I hope my sons do it when they start. My sons are a bit, whatever. They're a little bit older than that. Well, maybe one of them's going to start 5th grade another year, but hopefully it'll be good for them. And then, that's for young bacher. For older bacher, when they're learning Baba Kama, they want to check something out, make sure they see if they see exois in the sugya. Do they want to see if there's any shachs and smas or kveirs in the sugya? Of course. Should they be spending all that much time on it? Well, they should be, but if they can't, so they can see a bekitzer. Also anyone that wants to know halachos, Bez Hashem, it should be a good halacha sefer. Well, is it as good as learning the Shulchan Aruch inside with the tour and Beis Yosef and the Rishonim? Of course not, but it's a lot. It's a lot there, and hopefully it should be very useful. And Bez Hashem. But again, would the Gedolei Poskim be needing it? They won't need it, but the Gedolei Poskim would check it out to make sure it's if they're going to paskin. I was there once by Gadol, a Dayan, and he was about to pass it. He said, "Let me just check and see if the Piskei Choshen says anything on it." Okay, fine. Okay, then he passed it. So I'm hopefully going to be in that category also for a big placing. He'll just look and make sure he didn't miss anything. Just to be truthful and candid, a friend of mine who does pass it, he's a very low Dayan, but he hope he's not insulted to be called a low Dayan, but he's a Dayan. He's not one of the Gedolei Dayanim. But when he saw what I did, he was so happy about it because I don't know if you look at the Shach on Choshim Mishpat, every 10th Shach he says Ayin Rashdam, Ayin Ramak, Rash Marshach, Ayin Zeh, Ayin Zeh. No one I know has ever looked it up, and I looked through every single one of them, and I brought it down Batamses, and they're very, very useful. It's the Shach saying this is what he brought down. So hopefully that's what that is something that hopefully every single person who learns Choshen Mishpat should open, because that's important to see when the Shach says Ayin, you have to see it.
And I guess the same would be for the other Sfarim. So whether it's Sifrei Kabbalah, Machshava, Musar, Chumash, Rashi, it's you want it to be for whoever's interested in learning those Sfarim that they should be able to find stuff, things like the same type.
Well, yeah, but like a good example is like the Leshem. So in the Leshem at the back, I have the Leshem. A lot of times he speaks, at length, and so I bring it a synopsis. I bring it a tamsis. So now, will the Gedolim need the tamsis? No, they probably won't need the tamsis so much. No. Will the people that are starting off need it? Yeah, they'll need it. But who will need the commas, the periods? Well, probably everyone could use the commas, the periods. It always helps, makes it easier. Everyone's going to need the tochen and yonim. Everyone's going to need, if the Leshem quotes a Gra on Shulchan Aruch and he didn't quote it by saying this is the Gra on Shulchan Aruch, he just sort of says something, and it's a Gra on Shulchan Aruch. Well, it helps a lot to see the Gra inside. That's the idea.
Right. Now, what about Askamas? You mentioned Talmud Rav Shapiro. Did you have Askamas from him? Askamas from others?
Yeah, I mean, you can see them. They're also in the Sfarim, but the Kabbalah Sfarim, I got Askamas from Rabbi Yehoshua Shapiro and Rabbi Michal Zilber. They both enjoyed the Sfarim a great deal. They gave very enthusiastic Askamas, cloistic Askamas for all my Sfarim. And then when I did the Leshem, so I got Askama from Rabbi Yashov's children and Rabbi Chaim Kanievsky. I don't know if Chaim Kanievsky gave me Askama. He said Gamanim Mitztarf Lahanal. But and then for other Sfarim, if I felt it was, I went to Rav David Kohen, I went to Rutzi Krishlevsky, I went to whoever I thought would be useful to get a Askama from. Just a cute idea was I took the Nefesh HaChaim to one of my Rebbeim, and it was one of the Gedolim, and I wanted a more Rosh Hashiva type of person who is famous to give Askama the Nefesh HaChaim. And so I gave the Nefesh HaChaim and I asked for Askama. He looks at me, he says, I can't give Askama to Yeshua. This is Kabbalah. And I said, okay, can I have it back? He said, no, I can't give it back to you. I want to learn it. And so I said, well, gee, that sounds like a good Askama. I just write that. But I didn't say that to him. But that's Baruch Hashem. It's a big schus to be able to teach Torah Klal Yisrael, and people are enjoying it, and they're growing.
Okay, so finally, what are you working on now? I know you mentioned a couple of things, and working on is, what are you working on that haven't even gone on the website at all, and what is being worked on that's on the website available but hasn't been published yet? Are there any specific things you want to mention?
Well, the Shara Kavanos of the Arizal is very close to being printed. We have like another hour's worth of work before we give it to the typesetter. The Choshen Mishpat is volume 6, which is from Siman Reish Nun Tes until the end. So it's from Reish Nun Tes until Tov Chav Zayin, which is the bottom sixth of Choshen Mishpat, which is all very, very Nagela Maiso. So that's very, very close to printing. The Chumash Rashi is also very, 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 very close to printing. We're missing funding on all of them, but Baruch Hashem, hopefully we'll get through somehow, some way. And then the Zohar is also very, very, very close to printing. What am I working on now? Right now, I'm working on finishing up the Choshen Mishpat, and it's Bein Ezmanim, so I'm enjoying going through Kiddushin and trying to write a sefer, like a sefer on Kiddushin, and hopefully it'll be useful to have a translation and Mefarshim on the page.
Okay, so the website is Sifrei Meir Panim. I'll put up. I can actually spell that for any interested. If you Google Yehoshua Lifschitz, both in Hebrew or in English, it should be the first thing to come up. Yehoshua Lifschitz, you can't misspell Yehoshua Lifschitz in Hebrew, and that is the first thing that comes up in the Google search. But I'll say, okay, so Sifrei Meir Panim is Sifrei, Meir, Meir, Panim, PANIM.com. I'll put a link in the show's notes as well. You can purchase things from there, download, reach out to you. I can put your email address also if anyone wants to get in touch with you about anything as well. And with that, thank you very much for joining me to discuss your Sfarim.
I appreciate it greatly. What's luck on all your work in your studies and your podcasts.
Amen. Thank you.